When real women tell real stories, the world listens. And that's exactly why this book became a #1 international bestseller. Voices of the 21st Century, Unstoppable Women Standing Strong, celebrates the courage, truth, and resilience of women who have chosen to stand strong through real life moments. Hi, my name is Gail Watson. I'm founder and CEO of Women Speakers Association, and today I'm honored to welcome to our conversation international best-selling author Cynthia Sweeney. This is your chance to connect with the heart of her story and the voice she brings to this powerful collection. So welcome, Cynthia.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Gail. And I'm honored to be sitting here with you today. It's very
Oh,
exciting.
it is very exciting, and I want to really dive into your story. Your title is "Say Yes to Leading the Moment," but there was a part about halfway through your story where you just say, "Simple stories save lives." That just stopped me in my tracks. So, in just a few sentences, why don't you share with us what your story is about, and most importantly, what inspired you to share it?
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll start with what inspired me to share it first, because I feel like I see right now there are so many people that are standing at a crossroads in like leadership and parenting, finding our purpose. And I think for me, I wanted a story that could tell people that you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to uh, know that you're 100% ready. And so that's kind of what the essence of saying yes to leading the moment was about. And a lot of it had to do, telling my story right now, had to do with timing, I think, both personally and socially in a way, because the last decade, last 10 years thereabouts, my life has changed so much in such an unpredictable way that I could have never thought of. I became a parent to a young trans son who was in elementary school. I began building a business that was rooted in inclusion. And all along the way, I was learning about courage and what courage really, what it really means in real life and not just in theory. And I think for the most part during this time, I wanted well, firstly, I was so excited to be invited into to sharing my story, but this whole opportunity was so much more than that. It was an opportunity for me to sit down and actually reflect on what it was like to choose courage over uncertainty.
That's
And
phenomenal. Sorry.
no, yeah, and I don't think I realized that so much because when you're in it, when you're doing it, transition is messy, and I was transitioning, I was growing all the time, uh, in becoming an advocate that I needed, but I couldn't find, and so in helping other people, I was helping myself. And I didn't have a chance to really stop back and think about the impact it was having on me, let alone the others that I was trying to help. And so I think this process of being part of such an incredible collaborative storytelling has been just so rewarding all around because of that.
That's awesome. Well,
Mm.
let's dive a little bit deeper into that then. And I mean, the title of the book is Unstoppable Women Standing Strong. And you, my friend, are unstoppable. I mean, reading your story, you were on one path as a journalist and had a career, and you, your child needed you, and you jumped in, no questions asked, and you transitioned into something new. So let's talk about what standing strong meant to you during that time.
Sure. Standing strong for me, it meant visibility. It meant being resilient in staying visible, in staying present and showing up in spite of the fear and uncertainty that I was experiencing. I feel like we often, it's so easy to talk ourselves out of jumping into the moment and saying yes to the moment because we're feeling uncertain or because there's that element of fear. And for me, my son, my child didn't have the choice of being visible or not. He was just visible, and that was taken away from him. And in the moment, I realized for me to choose to be invisible would have perpetuated a feeling of shame and a sense of shame for him. And I just wasn't going to do it. But it was also going to send a message to his sisters that wasn't a positive message, that we should hide in fear, that we should just keep our heads down and let someone else solve the problem. And I wanted him to be able to exist in a way that he had always existed, which was, being his authentic self without fear of shame, without fear of reprimand. And so I chose visibility in spite of having that fear, and in spite of being uncertain, because even though my gut was rumbling and it was kind of unsettled, I knew it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, that unsettling feeling, but you went with it. I mean, you got that courage, you went with it. Now I'm sure there's lots of lessons or truths that come out of this time where you're pivoting in your world. And I'm curious, you say simple stories save lives. Share with us what that truth is or what that lesson is that you received and came up with that statement.
Yeah, simple stories save lives. I think because at the essence, it's the truth. It's the truth that that it feels so right, that if we can be authentic and honest and have a conversation, just a conversation, and see the humanity in each other. For me, it was a mom that was loving her child and wanting them, not wanting their life to change because they had found truth in their identity and their authenticity. And so, while I had a lot to learn and while there was a lot of growth work for me, I knew that I needed to let love lead the conversation and have the courage to show up even before the clarity was there, even before the certainty was there. And I wanted to share that message because I think it's so important for us, as women, we can let that self-doubt and that voice come in there and say, this isn't our place, not you, your voice can't make a difference. But it's our voices, that quiet courage that we can bring forward, that can make all the difference. And that is so significant and so important, if we're willing to seize the moment, if we're willing to say yes in that moment. And it is risky. Often, I think that's where leadership is born, when there is heightened a sense of risk, because not everybody will step forward or has the opportunity to. But I feel for myself, I don't regret the hard moments. They're worthwhile in knowing that I've set a positive example for my family, but I've also been able to reach out and help other families that maybe have a gender questioning young person in their life, or a trans child, and to say, yeah, look, we're standing at a very pivotal moment in society. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of us versus you. And I think, it's coming together through these simple stories, simple conversations, to say we're not so different. We all have fears. We all have uncertainty, but we're also all humans, and we all want to belong, and we all want to live our best life. And as a mama bear, I wanted to ensure that my children would grow up to also be unstoppable. I wanted to inspire them.
You know, your kids, all your kids are very lucky to have such a strong woman in their life, a strong mom who will go in, jump in both feet for them for whatever they need. And by you sharing your story, definitely helps those others out there that don't have that person in their life that will do that. So, bravo to you, my friend. That is absolutely wonderful. So, let's just talk about now. Let's go to today. You've had quite a journey. You've learned a lot. So, how is this all showing up in your world today for you?
Sure. Well, I think, and I'm still hearing the visibility is so powerful is so important. But it's changed for me. I think I fear, there's been an element of fear along the way when you choose visibility, and there's that level of risk in being a parent. You're always sort of questioning how you show up in the moment. But so I have pivoted in the last year. I know with the inclusion work that I've done, it's changed. People have cut back a lot. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Uh, it's showing up in different ways in businesses, and so I've kind of pivoted, and I am a leadership and transition coach, and I find it really rewarding in working one on one with leaders, with anyone who is sort of standing on that precipice of change and wondering if I'm ready, and being able to help support them along their journey. But also then supporting and continuing my work and really supporting parents and caregivers of transgender and gender diverse young people, teens, young adults, because we all know that they're still navigating a lot of choices as well. And so being able to help them and be there for them is super important for me too.
What a gift you are. This truly,
Mm.
what a gift you are to this world. And I know there's, companies and organizations are pulling back in that or in DEI. But ride through, stay strong. I'm confident things um, will bring more attention back to it. It's so needed because we are changing as people, and your voice for acceptance and things like that is a huge piece. So I'm thinking, well, before we get into where we can get a copy of this book, we were talking earlier about some of the lessons and the truths you've taken away from your whole wrapped up experience, and you were sharing to me about a game. Why don't we share about that? Because that was fun.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Well, it's interesting because when I'm stepping into a workshop in a professional session, I often think about analogies and being able to provide an analogy and sometimes to lighten the conversation because it can be a heavy conversation in a room when people don't understand and they're holding that element of fear. But it's it was always quite challenging in finding one that was positive or wasn't putting the onus on someone coming out as transgender as being a negative, something that is going to hold them back in life. And then it hit me as our family would often sit down and we would play the game of life, that board game that's been around for decades, where it's a board game and you spin the wheel and you get a little card in the beginning and you can put, your pink person and your blue person. You can pick your spouse and you spin the wheel to decide if you're going to go to the university route or the college route, or you're just going to go out to work and you're trying to make money along the way and succeed to get to this end of the game of life. And I was sitting there and realizing that it was like when my child came out as transgender, it was like we're all in this board game, but all of a sudden all the rules have changed and the pieces were taken away and maybe the car like loses its wheels and you don't get the choices that everybody else has. And there's really no way that my son could play this game and win or get to the end with any kind of success because the rules weren't built for people like him. And I realized it's not him, I didn't realize, but the analogy just came to me that it wasn't him. It's not the person that needs to change. We need to rewrite the rules. It's the board game that needs the overhaul, in that sense. And so for me, it was, stepping in and trying to help break down the systems that were telling him that he didn't belong or that there is no space for him to exist in this world. And yeah, so the little board game became my analogy.
A powerful insight that, you can visualize it. We've all played it.
Yeah,
Just as it's it's so
you,
funny
you,
when you what
yeah. Instead of, I think my kids would play and they'd be like, I'm not gonna put my spouse as the opposite color as me. I'm gonna pick it as the same color, and we're gonna try and change it up that way. But there aren't all that many options, and so I think, you know, it parallels with that conversation around gender identity and how it is we show up and exist in the world, and having this narrow view of you have to fit in one box, because you're born a particular way, whether you're pink for female and blue for male. It's so limiting, and it's also not accurate. And so I think we need to think of all the possibilities and think broader, and in that way we're just going to enrich more people's lives in a positive way.
amazing. So you definitely challenge the status quo out there. You're really proactive in and bringing the positiveness to this. I love that. You're not making this a negative, it's a positive and truly embracing it. So sounds like we need to get a copy of your book. It seems like we need to dive a little bit deeper into your story. And not only do we need a copy of this book, but I think it'd be great to get several copies of your book to be able to gift to others, other families, maybe people who are struggling with that type of acceptance that you found, maybe living in that darker place of, I don't want to tell anybody, right? So, Cynthia, where can we get a
Yeah.
copy of your book?
Yes, well, thank you. And yeah, I think these stories are so important because representation matters, and it saves lives. And I feel like there's so many people that will see themselves through these stories. And you can get a copy of my book by going to cynsweeney.com, CYN, Sweeney.com, or through my inclusion consultancy, simplygoodform.com. And you can order right there or DM me if you're looking for multiple copies to give as gifts, or also if I'm coming in to do a workshop, we can give one to everyone there as well. I just think it's such a great tool. And for me, it's really helped me, learn from writing my own story, but also from reading the others, is that, leadership, is not about being fearless. And fear actually has made me a better leader, not a weaker one. And it's just about being present and saying yes to leading the moment.
You are awesome. You really are. I'm so proud to know you. I'm so from a mother to a mother, I just think you're fantastic and I'm glad there's women like you on this planet leading the way for us other moms, to help us through. So I want to really thank you for sharing your truth because this message really, really matters. To your point, I go back to again, these simple stories save lives. And we need to do that more because we know there's a lot of, can be some troubles for people in this. So I want to thank you for having this conversation today. And and just before we go, I'm wondering, is there anything you'd like to leave us with, a thought or a message that we can take away?
Yeah, thanks, Gail. And also thank you so much for, bringing so many incredible women together into this collaborative process. It's been an incredible journey, and for publishing a book like this. I've grown a lot, and I think I've learned, leadership often begins when we trust ourselves enough to act. and jump in and say yes, even when we're not ready. And so I hope that people will be inspired by the stories from within, and I look forward to hearing people's thoughts on it. Mhm.
All right. Okay, so there's the red carpet rolled out for us to get a copy of Cynthia Sweeney's book. And in that book is her contact information, and in there's send her a note, let her know what you think. Definitely a topic to bring into your organization, your groups, to talk about, to explore, and to really know how to embrace um, and just make people feel like people, just that acceptance. What a beautiful world we would be in if we just live and let live, you know?
Hail to that. So true. So true.
Okay. Thanks again,
Thank you.
Sin, and for sharing just your heart and your truth. Beautiful. You just really, 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 really beautiful. I really appreciate you and the work you're doing. And and I want to thank everybody who's listening. And wherever you are in this world, we would like to wish you a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining.